Ambassador Elena Hart felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension as her shuttle approached the immense central station of the Galactic Council. The station hovered elegantly amidst a radiant nebula, its sleek silver hull reflecting waves of brilliant colors, an awe-inspiring sight contrasting sharply with the gravity of her mission. Earth's delegation had warned Elena about the Council's deep suspicion toward humanity's military tactics. Humanity had only recently entered galactic society, and their unorthodox approach to warfare, swift, decisive, and occasionally ruthless, had unsettled their extraterrestrial neighbors, who had evolved rigidly structured and largely symbolic ways to wage war. Elena knew she would need to balance diplomacy with firmness, a skill she'd honed through years of navigating Earth's own treacherous political corridors. The shuttle docked smoothly, and Elena stepped onto the station, flanked by two human security officers whose presence drew wary glances from passing diplomats. The corridors hummed with hushed whispers, their strange, melodic languages floating in Elena's ears like gentle echoes. Yet their wary eyes held a universal suspicion she understood clearly. Humanity's reputation had preceded her. She was met by Ambassador Kalen, a tall, dignified member of the Zorati, one of the Council's founding species. His pale blue skin was accented by elaborate gold markings, symbols of his high diplomatic rank. He inclined his head respectfully, but the coolness in his large, reflective eyes betrayed his caution. Ambassador Hart, Kalen greeted evenly. Your reputation precedes you. As does humanity's, it seems, Elena replied carefully, offering a polite smile. I hope to foster greater understanding between our peoples. Kalen gestured graciously, though his voice remained aloof. Understanding requires clarity. Your species approaches warfare with methods unprecedented in the Council's long history. Our conflicts are rituals designed to limit destruction and loss of life. Your people resolve disputes rapidly, decisively, but sometimes brutally. Elena felt a brief sting, but held her composure. We consider prolonged warfare a greater cruelty. Our decisive measures spare more suffering overall. Kalen regarded her thoughtfully. Efficiency at the cost of morality? That perspective unsettles many. Before Elena could respond, a sudden hush descended as several other ambassadors paused, openly scrutinizing the human delegation. Whispers rose again, sharp and suspicious. Kalen lowered his voice. Diplomatic tensions are high. We recently suffered sabotage aboard a diplomatic cruiser, an attack unlike any seen in generations. Your delegation's arrival, so soon afterward, has intensified mistrust. We had no involvement, Elena said firmly. Of course, Kalen replied diplomatically, though Elena sensed lingering doubt beneath his polite demeanor. But perceptions matter. Be prepared for hostility in council discussions. He led her to the council chamber, an immense, domed room lit softly by ambient lighting that pulsed gently with shades of amber and violet. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of species sat in tiers around a central speaking platform. The atmosphere felt charged, heavy with unspoken fears and suspicions. As Elena took her assigned seat, she noticed many eyes watching her closely, some with curiosity, others with outright hostility. She recognized delegates from the score, a warrior race whose martial pride was legendary, but whose structured, ceremonial battles had never prepared them for humanity's pragmatic, ruthless efficiency. Ambassador Sereth, the fierce, eagle-like score representative, spoke first, his harsh voice reverberating across the chamber. We cannot ignore the human delegation's arrival following recent unprecedented violence. Their kind thrives on warfare that defies the Council's traditions. We must question their intent. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, punctuated by accusing glances. Elena stood slowly, feeling the weight of every gaze. My people joined this council not as conquerors, but as partners seeking peace, she declared calmly. Our tactics differ, yes, but only because we view prolonged conflict as a grave moral failing. Yet your methods often border on cruelty, Sareth retorted, feathers ruffled aggressively. "We have reports from your Earth wars, psychological manipulation, asymmetric strategies. Your tactics create fear, mistrust." Elena met his gaze steadily. "They end wars quickly, saving countless lives. Would you prefer prolonged suffering under the guise of honor?" The chamber erupted into heated debate, delegates exchanging accusations and defenses loudly, passionately. Elena watched carefully, taking note of which species seemed open-minded, which were rigid in their hostility, and those undecided, key to her diplomatic strategy. Later, when the session recessed for the evening, Elena retreated to her quarters, exhausted but resolved. She had barely settled when an urgent knock sounded at the door. Opening it cautiously, she found herself face-to-face with an alien of unfamiliar species, slender with silvery skin and dark eyes, filled with urgency. "Ambassador Hart, you must hear me out," the alien whispered urgently. "The sabotage of the cruiser, it was not humanity's doing. There is a conspiracy within the Council itself. Factions seeking war, framing your people deliberately." Elena's heart quickened. "Who are you? How do you know this?" "I am Arik," he whispered hastily. "I serve Ambassador Kalen, but he does not yet know this truth. I discovered communications implicating powerful delegates conspiring to provoke humanity, forcing you into war." "Why tell me?" Elena questioned, cautious yet intrigued. "Because humanity's methods frighten them," Arik replied swiftly. "They fear your strength, but misunderstand your intent. You must act quickly, Ambassador, or your species will become the enemy you never intended to be." He vanished into the shadows, leaving Elena alone, gripping the weight of revelation tightly. The Council's suspicion was deeper than mere misunderstanding. It was carefully cultivated. Elena sat down, her mind racing. Humanity was poised precariously between diplomacy and ruin. The galaxy feared them, misunderstood their intentions, and now sought to weaponize that fear against them. As the nebula outside her window shimmered serenely, Elena knew the true battle had only just begun. Ambassador Elena Hart had barely slept since Arik's warning. The fragile peace between humanity and the Galactic Council rested precariously on her shoulders, and the truth now felt like a blade pressed softly against her throat. She paced restlessly in her quarters, reviewing every moment of her brief time aboard the Council station, searching for hidden meanings beneath polite gestures and suspicious glances. Her aides reported rising tensions across the station. Security patrols had doubled, and diplomats who'd once regarded her with mere caution now openly displayed distrust. It had been only days since Elena's arrival, yet her presence had amplified divisions that had simmered beneath the Council's outwardly harmonious surface for decades. Ambassador Hart, her aide, Lieutenant James Donovan, called softly from the doorway, his voice wary yet respectful. "You have visitors. Ambassador Kalen and Ambassador Sareth request your immediate presence in the Council's security chambers." Elena hesitated only briefly, steeling herself before nodding sharply. "Lead the way." The walk to the security chambers felt longer this time, burdened with uncertainty and dread. Elena noted the increased presence of heavily armed guards positioned strategically along the corridors, their eyes following her with barely concealed suspicion. Donovan maintained a protective proximity, alert and vigilant, reflecting humanity's calculated pragmatism that had made them both admired and feared. Ambassadors Kalen and Sareth awaited her inside a secure conference room, flanked by representatives from security intelligence, a grim assembly clearly designed to intimidate. Sareth glowered openly, his feathers bristling, while Kalen maintained his usual composed elegance, though Elena saw tension tightening the edges of his calm facade. "Ambassador Hart," Kalen began solemnly, "we must address a grave matter." "Another incident?" Elena ventured carefully, sensing the gravity of the moment. Kalen nodded slowly, eyes narrowed in scrutiny. "Another diplomatic vessel has been sabotaged. This time, however, your human delegation's rapid response, precise and flawlessly executed, has raised more questions than admiration." Sarah stepped forward aggressively. Too precise, Ambassador Hart. Your species consistently anticipates crisis before it happens. We have begun to question whether humanity might orchestrate these conflicts, profiting politically from your apparently superior crisis management. Elena felt the blood drain momentarily from her face, but regained composure quickly, aware of how carefully her reactions would be studied. Ambassador Seraph, humans value peace more highly than anyone here can truly understand. Our ability to respond decisively arises precisely because we detest war. Our speed is due to preparation, not conspiracy. Yet your preparation feels suspiciously like foreknowledge, Seraph pressed. Explain your readiness. Clarify your methods. Elena sensed the precariousness of her position. Revealing humanity's approach might deepen suspicion, but withholding could prove equally damning. She chose openness, gambling that truth might yet break the cycle of suspicion. On Earth, our history taught us that hesitation costs lives, she explained slowly. We developed doctrines anticipating potential threats, strategies based on psychology, behavior analysis, contingency planning. We excel in warfare because humanity despises prolonged suffering. Our decisiveness isn't cruelty, it's mercy. Sereth's eyes narrowed skeptically, but Kalen regarded her with cautious curiosity. Mercy through aggression seems contradictory, Ambassador Hart. Elena met his gaze squarely. Only if one mistakes action for aggression. Hesitation and indecision prolong suffering, Ambassador Kalen. We believe decisive action prevents greater tragedy. A tense silence filled the room, broken finally by a signal from Security Chief Alora, a lean, stern-faced alien who had been quietly assessing Elena throughout the exchange. Ambassador Hart, our security records show unauthorized communication from your quarters. Are you aware someone has infiltrated your team? Elena felt cold recognition. Arik's warning had indeed carried grave risks. She quickly formulated her response, maintaining her outward composure. I received an anonymous warning indicating sabotage orchestrated from within the council itself. If my team has been compromised, it wasn't by humanity's choice. Valoris' expression hardened further. Who provided this information? I did not know his allegiances, only his name, Arik. Kalen reacted immediately, visible shock registering briefly across his usually impassive features. Arik, you know him? Elena asked sharply, seizing this unexpected opportunity. Kalen nodded slowly, processing the implications. Arik has served me faithfully for years. If he risked exposing himself, he must have discovered something truly troubling. Sereth interrupted impatiently, voice harsh with suspicion. Or perhaps he is deceiving you both, drawing suspicion away from humanity. Your sudden involvement remains suspect. Kalen considered this, eyes lingering on Elena thoughtfully. Perhaps, but we cannot ignore the possibility of internal betrayal. We must investigate. Elena seized the opportunity. Allow me to assist your investigation openly. My cooperation should demonstrate humanity's genuine intent. Transparency might yet save our alliance. Sereth hesitated, feathers fluttering with agitation, but Kalen nodded decisively. Very well, Ambassador Hart. We shall allow your cooperation. But know this, if humanity is implicated, consequences will be severe. The meeting ended abruptly, leaving Elena both relieved and deeply unsettled. Donovan escorted her silently back toward their quarters, his thoughtful gaze suggesting deeper considerations. Lieutenant Donovan, Elena whispered urgently, pausing in a quiet corridor. We must locate Arik immediately. He may hold the key to proving humanity's innocence. Donovan nodded sharply, ever the soldier, but his voice carried concern. Ambassador, we're risking much. This feels like a calculated trap. It may be, Elena admitted quietly, but we cannot avoid playing their game if we wish to survive it. Just then, Elena's comm buzzed urgently, a coded signal indicating an incoming message through secure diplomatic channels. She activated it discreetly, her heart quickening as she saw Arik's frantic face appear on screen, half hidden by shadow. "Ambassador Hart, I've uncovered critical evidence," Arik whispered urgently. "The sabotage is designed specifically to provoke humanity into open conflict. The conspirators are far more powerful and embedded than I realized. You must." His voice was abruptly silenced by the sharp crack of weapons fire, the screen flickering and dissolving into static. Elena felt a cold, unyielding dread settle deeply into her bones. The Shadow Games had grown deadly serious, and humanity was quickly running out of moves. Ambassador Elena Hart stood frozen, her hand trembling as the static-laden screen faded into darkness. Arik's desperate warning echoed in her mind, haunting her thoughts. He had risked, and likely lost, his life to reveal the truth behind the sabotage. She knew now that the conspiracy extended far deeper than mere political rivalry. It threatened the very fabric of the Galactic Council and humanity's fragile place within it. "Ambassador," Lieutenant Donovan's voice pierced her thoughts, quiet yet firm. "We should return to secure quarters." Elena nodded slowly, her resolve hardening. "Agreed. We need answers, and quickly." Returning to her chambers, Elena immediately activated secure communication channels back to Earth, requesting access to classified intelligence. Within minutes, a holographic projection of Admiral Marcus Reyes, Earth's chief military strategist, appeared before her. His weathered face reflected his decades of experience navigating conflicts on Earth, experience Elena sorely needed. "Ambassador Hart," Reyes spoke sharply, cutting through pleasantries. "We've detected unusual fleet movements within several Council territories. Our intelligence suggests preparations for a coordinated strike against Earth." Elena's heart raced. "Then the conspiracy is deeper than we thought. They're forcing our hand, Reyes. They want humanity painted as aggressors to justify action against us." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "If we retaliate preemptively, we play directly into their narrative." "That's their aim," Elena confirmed grimly. "They're weaponizing our efficiency against us. They want humanity to appear the aggressor, to justify isolating and ultimately neutralizing us." Reyes paused, deep in thought. "The Council misunderstands us entirely. Our ruthlessness isn't born of aggression. It's strategic calculation, minimizing casualties through rapid, decisive action. We must convey this clearly, or they'll force us into a war we don't want." Elena considered her next move carefully. "We have allies here, Ambassador Kalen among them, but we're losing ground rapidly. We need irrefutable evidence of the conspiracy to shift perception." Reyes responded gravely. "We have uncovered encrypted transmissions implicating a powerful bloc within the Council itself, delegates from civilizations threatened by humanity's rapid rise. I'll forward all available intelligence." "Quickly," Elena urged. "We have precious little time." Returning to her quarters, Elena reviewed the newly decrypted intelligence files. Transmissions revealed a web of powerful figures manipulating tensions, orchestrating attacks, and framing humanity. The Council conspirators sought not only to diminish Earth's influence, but to restore traditional warfare methods, slower, ritualistic, and predictable, preserving their own dominance at humanity's expense. Among the decrypted data, Elena recognized a voice from the transmissions. Ambassador Seraph, the scored diplomat who openly accused humanity, was deeply involved. But more disturbingly, other prominent Council members, including the previously trusted Ambassador Nyla of the peaceful Arathians, appeared complicit. Elena knew exposing the conspiracy openly could spark immediate conflict. She needed an ally within the Council, someone respected yet untouched by scandal. Ambassador Kalen remained her best hope. Despite initial suspicion, she sensed genuine curiosity beneath his diplomatic facade. Determined, Elena arranged a discreet meeting with Kalen, risking her safety in the gamble. They met in a secluded chamber overlooking the shimmering nebula, the room bathed in ethereal violet hues. Kalen regarded her steadily, his expression inscrutable. You requested secrecy, Ambassador Hart, Kalen began softly. I trust you bring something compelling. Elena handed him the data crystal containing Reyes's intelligence. I have evidence implicating several prominent council delegates in the sabotage attacks, including Ambassador Sereth and Ambassador Nyla. Kalen hesitated, eyes widening slightly. These are grave accusations. Yet true, Elena asserted firmly. Humanity's approach to warfare frightens them, Ambassador. They fear our decisiveness, interpreting it as a threat rather than what it truly is, a desperate desire to prevent suffering. Kalen studied her carefully. Your kind confuse us deeply. You wage war brutally, yet claim compassion. Help me understand. Elena leaned forward, speaking earnestly. Our history taught us the cruelty of prolonged conflicts. War, Ambassador, is humanity's greatest shame. Yet we accept its reality, choosing swift, decisive resolutions rather than endless bloodshed. Our ruthlessness comes from a place of profound empathy, an urgent desire to limit suffering, not extend it. Kalen considered her words carefully, his alien eyes filled with both wonder and doubt. Yet your enemies fear you precisely because of this ruthless compassion. They fear our effectiveness, Elena corrected gently. They fear the clarity of our resolve. But humanity seeks allies, not conquest. Kalen's eyes shifted thoughtfully. I believe you, Ambassador Hart, but others will require proof. How do we expose this conspiracy without triggering the very war they desire? Elena's expression grew determined. We let humanity's paradoxical methods speak clearly. The conspirators expect violent retaliation. We will instead use restraint, strategically positioned, undeniable in intent. Kalen's eyes flickered with admiration and caution. Risky. If you miscalculate, humanity could lose everything. She nodded solemnly. Yet we cannot surrender our principles to appease fear. If the Council is to trust us, we must show them precisely why humanity fights as it does. Kalen rose decisively. Then let us act swiftly. I will help you approach sympathetic factions. Perhaps your methods hold solutions we've overlooked. As Elena returned to her quarters, a sudden explosion rocked the station. Alarms blared, red lights flooding the corridors as frantic voices echoed through comm systems. A rapid announcement confirmed her fears. Another sabotage attack, this time targeting the Council's security infrastructure. But humanity had been ready. Earth's delegation deployed precise countermeasures instantly, containing damage, evacuating vulnerable delegates, and neutralizing threats decisively, stunning observers with their efficiency. Watching the chaos unfold through station monitors, Elena knew their swift action would again provoke suspicion. Yet humanity's paradox had never been clearer. They acted ruthlessly, decisively, yet undeniably saved countless lives. The aftermath brought renewed council debates, humanity's efficiency viewed simultaneously with awe and dread. Elena entered the council chambers prepared to confront inevitable accusations. Ambassador Sereth spoke first, his accusations sharp as always. Once more, humanity conveniently demonstrates its unmatched effectiveness during crisis. Who benefits most from these disasters? Your actions betray your manipulations. Elena stood firmly, eyes blazing defiantly yet compassionately. Humanity's tactics frighten you because they challenge tradition. But ask yourselves honestly, how many lives did our decisive actions save today? How many more would hesitation have cost? A heavy silence descended upon the council chamber. Many delegates averted their eyes, confronting an uncomfortable truth. Kalen stepped forward, voice firm yet thoughtful. Ambassador Hart speaks uncomfortable truth. Perhaps humanity's approach holds lessons we are unprepared yet obligated to consider. Sereth seethed silently, his feathers trembling with restrained anger. Yet Elena saw others, previously doubtful, beginning to reconsider humanity's intent. The Galactic Council teetered on a knife edge, poised between unity and chaos. Elena understood her battle wasn't merely political. It was existential, testing humanity's paradoxical nature before a galaxy that viewed them with equal measures of awe and dread. The line between ally and enemy had blurred dangerously, yet Elena felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps humanity's unsettling clarity, their unique understanding of the terrible necessity of war, would finally be seen not as threat, but salvation. Or perhaps it would ignite the war they desperately sought to avoid. The Galactic Council station was in turmoil. News of humanity's swift yet unsettlingly effective response to the attack had spread rapidly, fueling further suspicion alongside reluctant admiration. Ambassador Elena Hart, however, found no solace in admiration. The conspiracy she faced now threatened to ignite a full-scale interstellar conflict that humanity could ill afford. Elena stood in her quarters, surrounded by holographic projections displaying rapidly updating intelligence reports. Lieutenant Donovan maintained a vigilant guard by the entrance, his posture tense yet composed, reflecting humanity's characteristic readiness for crisis. Elena knew the Council was watching closely, awaiting the next human move with bated breath, ready to cast judgment at the slightest misstep. Ambassador Donovan spoke quietly, tension evident in his voice. The Arathian delegation has privately requested an urgent meeting. Elena's heart skipped. Ambassador Nyla, head of the Arathian delegation, had been implicated in the conspiracy. Yet Nyla herself had always been an advocate of peaceful dialogue, her species famous across the galaxy for their staunch pacifism. Elena knew the delicate importance of this encounter. It could tip the scales toward peace or war. Accept their invitation, Elena instructed decisively, preparing herself mentally. But be cautious. We don't know Nyla's true intent. The meeting occurred within the quiet privacy of Nyla's diplomatic quarters. Elena found Nyla awaiting her calmly, her expression serene yet shadowed by quiet sadness. "You suspect me, Ambassador Hart," Nyla spoke softly, her voice musical yet tinged with regret. "I see it clearly, perhaps justifiably. I have evidence." Elena began firmly yet diplomatically. "Your involvement in this conspiracy has placed humanity in great peril." Nyla inclined her head slightly, eyes thoughtful. "Involvement, yes, but perhaps not guilt. You misunderstand my role. I joined their conspiracy to learn their true intent. They fear humanity's ascension, not your tactics alone." "Why reveal this now?" Elena pressed cautiously. Nyla's expression softened. "Because their plan has escalated beyond my expectations. They seek outright conflict, provocation so severe it forces humanity into war. Your species' strength terrifies them. They believe your destruction, or at least your marginalization, will restore balance." Elena's mind raced, grasping the gravity of Nyla's revelation. "Can you identify those truly orchestrating this?" "I can," Nyla replied with quiet determination. "Ambassador Sereth is only one voice among several. Representatives from the Krail, Xylun, and Tar delegations form a core. They have carefully manipulated recent events to justify isolating humanity." "We need indisputable proof," Elena urged. "Only evidence can break their grip over the Council." Nyla nodded gently. "I possess recordings, encoded conversations detailing their plans. But exposing them risks immediate retaliation." Elena's eyes hardened resolutely. "Then we must ensure humanity's response counters their expectations. They anticipate violence, so we must demonstrate restraint, turning their tactics against them." As Elena departed, Donovan approached, tense with urgency. "Ambassador, Earth's fleet has reported aggressive posturing from Krail and Xylun warships. Admiral Reyes awaits your authorization for a defensive stance." Elena hesitated, deeply aware the conspirators hoped humanity would lash out, thus proving their aggression. "Instruct Reyes to hold positions defensively. No offensive actions. Humanity's next move must showcase patience." Donovan raised an eyebrow, understanding her intent. "Our restraint will be perceived as weakness." Initially, Elena acknowledged. But patience has always been humanity's greatest strategic strength. We'll let their aggression expose their true intent. As word spread of humanity's deliberate inaction, confusion rippled across the station. Delegates who had expected Earth's immediate retaliation now whispered uncertainly, reassessing their judgments. Elena seized the shifting perceptions, calling an emergency session of the council to present her case. The great chamber was tense as Elena rose before hundreds of delegates, all eyes fixed skeptically upon her. Ambassador Sereth radiated hostility, his feathers bristling with barely concealed disdain. Ambassadors, Elena spoke confidently, voice clear and steady. Humanity has been accused repeatedly of aggression, of seeking conflict. Yet today we have shown restraint when provoked. Our swift actions previously were to minimize casualties, not to assert dominance. Today, our restraint confirms our commitment to peace. Sereth immediately interjected, voice sharp. Or perhaps cowardice drives humanity's newfound pacifism. Elena turned calmly, meeting his gaze firmly. Cowardice is prolonging conflict, Ambassador Sereth. Bravery lies in restraint, even when justified to retaliate. Earth seeks unity, not dominance. We invite the Council to inspect evidence of deliberate provocations orchestrated by conspirators among us, evidence Ambassador Nyla has courageously provided. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber as Nyla rose, calmly presenting the encoded recordings. Moments later, projected holograms revealed undeniable proof of the conspiracy private conversations detailing meticulous plans to frame humanity, provoke conflict, and manipulate council perception. Chaos erupted briefly, accusations and denials shouted across chambers. Sereth stood, visibly shaken, his plans unraveling publicly. He addressed Elena furiously. You twist our intent, Ambassador Hart. Humanity's tactics remain a threat. Only to conspirators, Elena countered decisively, voice unyielding. The Council fears our methods because they disrupt outdated traditions. Our decisiveness frightens because it challenges complacency. Today, humanity demonstrates the greatest weapon we possess: discipline, restraint, compassion. Ambassador Kalen rose, silencing the room immediately. Ambassador Hart has shown humanity's paradox clearly today. Perhaps we fear their methods precisely because we misunderstood them. Their actions have averted war, not ignited it. Delegates murmured in reluctant agreement, reassessing humanity with newfound respect. Elena felt relief mingled with cautious triumph. Their gamble had paid off. Restraint, humanity's decisive refusal to play the expected violent role, had finally shattered the conspiracy's narrative. Yet Elena knew this victory was fragile. The conspirators, exposed and cornered, would not simply surrender. Moments later, her fears were confirmed when alarms once again sounded sharply throughout the station. Donovan's urgent voice crackled through Elena's calm. Ambassador, the Krail delegation has mobilized warships toward Earth colonies, claiming humanity's diplomatic efforts as deception. They're forcing our hand. Elena stood calmly amid rising panic, clarity crystallizing in her mind. Inform Admiral Reyes. Deploy psychological and strategic deterrence, only no open combat. Force them to question their aggression, not ours. As Elena watched the monitors displaying Earth's fleet swiftly taking strategic defensive positions, blocking without attacking, she knew humanity's paradox was at last clearly visible to the galaxy. Whether the Council fully grasped humanity's unique warfare philosophy remained uncertain. But Elena knew one truth clearly. They had decisively proven their commitment to peace. Yet the decisive measures humanity had employed thus far paled before the inevitable final test, now looming on the horizon. The Galactic Council station was electric with tension. Warships from the Krail delegation hovered menacingly near Earth's colonial territories, poised on the edge of aggression, held back only by humanity's unexpected restraint. Ambassador Elena Hart stood quietly in the observation chamber, eyes fixed on the projected map of human and alien fleets suspended in a delicate stalemate. Lieutenant Donovan approached silently, eyes trained on Elena's tense shoulders. Ambassador, Admiral Reyes reports continued provocations, but our ships have maintained position. No aggression. Good. Elena murmured softly, her voice heavy with responsibility. They expected our retaliation. Let our patience become their confusion. In the council chamber, fierce debates raged. Delegates argued passionately, divided between those who still mistrusted humanity's intentions and those moved by the recent revelations. Elena's decisive demonstration of restraint had shaken the council deeply, forcing a fundamental reassessment of humanity's nature. Ambassador Sereth, now cornered, continued his accusations bitterly. Humanity is clever, cunning. Your restraint today is merely another strategy designed to lower our defenses. Elena rose calmly, addressing the chamber with quiet authority. Ambassador Sereth, humanity's restraint today is the same decisiveness you once feared as aggression. You misunderstood our intentions from the start. Our desire is peace. Our ruthlessness merely our resolve never to allow war's horrors to linger unnecessarily. Murmurs filled the chamber as Sereth faltered, searching for words that wouldn't come. Ambassador Kalen stood, drawing all eyes. We have long misunderstood humanity. Their swift resolutions, their decisive measures, stem from compassion, not aggression. Their paradox was troubling precisely because it challenged our complacency. He turned directly to Elena. Ambassador Hart, how would humanity resolve this crisis without violence? Elena stepped forward, knowing the council hung upon her answer. We demonstrate clarity. The Krail delegation expects violence, yet violence only reinforces their fear. Humanity will show them precisely why war is unnecessary. Immediately, she activated a secure communication line to Admiral Reyes, audible to all delegates. Admiral Reyes, initiate Operation Insight, full transparency. Allow every action of our fleet to be visible to the entire council. Let them see humanity's true intent. Moments later, real-time holographic feeds appeared throughout the chamber. The council watched astonished as humanity's fleet maintained disciplined defensive positions, intercepting provocations without retaliation, maneuvering ships defensively, yet never once firing aggressively. Elena spoke confidently, her voice echoing with controlled strength. Observe carefully. Humanity's strength is not in our weapons, but in our clarity of purpose. You see decisiveness, but never aggression. Humanity's paradox is compassion through strength, peace through preparedness. Across the chamber, delegates exchanged astonished glances, many clearly moved by humanity's restraint. Sereth stood stunned, feathers trembling not in anger, but confusion. Kalen addressed the chamber solemnly. Ambassadors, humanity has shown us clearly how flawed our perception was. Perhaps our centuries-old traditions failed us. Perhaps we forgot what peace truly demands, clarity, not symbolic violence. Humanity's methods deserve reconsideration. Suddenly, an urgent transmission appeared from the Krail delegation. Ambassador Vorix's harsh face appeared on screen, eyes narrowed suspiciously yet filled with reluctant uncertainty. Ambassador Hart, Vorix growled cautiously. Explain your restraint. Are you cowards or manipulators? Elena responded without hesitation, eyes blazing with sincerity. We are neither. We are pragmatic idealists. Humanity chooses restraint today precisely because we are strong enough to refuse unnecessary violence. Do not mistake our mercy for weakness. Vorix hesitated visibly, clearly taken aback by Elena's words. His ships hovered uncertainly, their crews awaiting direction. Why risk your strength for this diplomacy? Vorix pressed suspiciously. What advantage does humanity gain? The advantage of peace, Elena replied calmly. War weakens us all, Ambassador Vorix. Humanity understands this deeply. Our ruthless decisiveness isn't about winning battles. It's about preventing them altogether. The Krail ambassador stared, visibly conflicted, before finally nodding slowly. Perhaps we misjudged you. The Krail warships, watched by the entire Galactic Council, slowly withdrew from their aggressive stance. Delegates erupted into relieved applause, some openly stunned, others clearly reconsidering humanity's role. Ambassador Sereth sank silently into his seat, defeated but reflective. Days later, the station returned gradually to calm, yet transformed irrevocably. Elena stood quietly in the observation chamber, gazing out upon the tranquil nebula, reflecting upon humanity's victory, earned not through force but through principle. Kalen approached quietly. You risked much, Ambassador Hart. Humanity's methods nearly provoked war, yet ultimately prevented one. Humanity has always walked a thin line, Elena admitted softly, between ruthless pragmatism and profound compassion. The galaxy fears us because our clarity reveals uncomfortable truths. Wars are prolonged by indecision and pride, not ended by them. Kalen nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps that is precisely why humanity belongs here, among us. You remind us peace requires courage, decisiveness, sometimes even ruthlessness. Elena turned to him gently. And compassion, Ambassador Kalen. Never forget that. Kalen's expression softened. You've taught the Council something important, Elena Hart. Perhaps now we understand humanity a little better, and ourselves. As he left, Elena felt a deep satisfaction mixed with humility. Humanity had been tested severely, yet emerged stronger. They had demonstrated clearly their unique warfare paradox. Not aggression masked by mercy, but mercy expressed through calculated decisiveness. Lieutenant Donovan approached quietly, eyes reflecting quiet pride. Ambassador, Admiral Reyes sends congratulations. Earth reports that fleets previously poised against us have withdrawn. The crisis has passed. Elena smiled faintly, relief mingling with a deeper realization. We've only begun reshaping perceptions, Lieutenant. Humanity's true challenge lies ahead, earning lasting trust. Donovan nodded solemnly. But today, we proved humanity's paradox clearly. Perhaps the galaxy is finally ready to understand. Elena turned once more toward the serene nebula, shimmering softly as if echoing humanity's newly revealed intent. She felt hopeful, yet keenly aware their future depended entirely upon maintaining clarity amid suspicion. Humanity had proven their strength. Now they had to ensure it never frightened the galaxy again. The decisive measures that once threatened to isolate humanity now forged bonds of cautious respect. Humanity's paradox remained, but now it inspired, not intimidated. As Elena stared across the stars, she knew their true mission had only just begun.